Hi there and welcome back. Today we are diving into the fascinating world of SQL Joins. A SQL Joins lets you pull the data from two or more tables in a single query, making databases incredibly powerful. By storing related information in separate tables, we can combine it whenever needed, and that is what joins become very powerful. In this session, we will explore the different type of the SQL joins and we will learn how to use them, and I'll share some practical examples too. So let's get this started. So what is a join in SQL? A join is a method for combining data from two or more tables in SQL. When you write queries, you often need to retrieve information from multiple tables. To achieve this, you will use a join. Joins are a fundamental concept in a SQL and come with a specific keyword that make this process pretty straightforward. But before we get started, let's look at a sample dataset. To help explain join, it helps to see how the SQL queries would work and what the results would look like. So for that, we will use an employee and a department example. It is a common example that you might find over the internet. You just need to Google it. So this is a department table where we have department ID and a department name. And this is an employee table which has 6 columns: employee ID, full name, department ID, role, and manager ID. And we will try to use different types of the join and get the information from both the tables. Now that we have our two tables, how do we create a join? A join isn't an object you create in the database. Instead, it's a part of your query that uses specific keywords. To create a join, you need at least two tables. One will connect to the other. If you want to include more tables in a query, you can join those as well. Think of it like connecting sections of a pipe. You can join two tables together, and to a third, you simply connect it to either of the first two. To join two tables, you need a common column that links them. For example, in department and employee table, you can join these two tables together by using department ID. And this is how we establish the join between the two tables. Typically, this is done using a primary key and foreign key relationship. The syntax for a join looks like this. Select columns from whatever tables you want, like what columns you want to select, either from the department table or from the employee table. Then from table 1, join type table 2 on the joining columns. For example, in this particular case, it is department ID. So here join type can be replaced with one of the several type of the joins depending on your needs. There are various type of the joins in SQL and which we are going to discuss later on. But as per your need, you can use different type of the joins and get the desired output. There are various type of the joins in SQL. However, we are going to discuss the most commonly used joins in the industry. Let's start with the inner join. An inner join is one of the most common type of the joins in SQL. It retrieves all the records from both tables where there is a match. This straightforward join is widely understood and frequently used. Essentially, it returns all the records from the table A that have corresponding records in the table B. This diagram shows you how the join is represented. To write an inner join in SQL, you can use either the inner join keyword or simply the join, as the word inner is optional. Now let's do an example and see how does inner join works in SQL. As you can see here, we have the department table and the employee table, and these are the sample output. What we want is, we want the full name from the employee table as well as the job role and what is the respective department from the department table. Let's see how we can retrieve this information using inner join. Select. Let me show you the join first. So what we will do is, we will call dbo.employee E. E here we are using as an alias, and I'll show you why we should use an alias when we are calling the tables. Let me write the code and then I'll tell you the exact benefit. Inner join dbo.department alias is D. on E dot department ID equal to D dot department ID. Now, why the alias is very important means if you do not want to have an alias, that is also fine, but alias makes our life easy when we are doing the joins. The reason is, if we do not want to use aliases, then we have to mention the complete table name, which is employee here, and it becomes very cumbersome when you have like a big table name, and that is very much possible in the real world scenario. And that is why aliases are going to make your life easy when you are using joins. So what we want is distinct E dot full name as employee underscore name E dot job role as, let it as job role only, and D dot department name. Let's run the code. And you can see here we have successfully retrieved the employees with their job role and department names wherever that department ID is present. So for example, let me show you. If there is no department ID, let me remove top 5. So you can see here, there is one particular employee who does not have a department ID. I can tell you his record is not going to be there in this particular code. And you can see here, you cannot see Anthony because his department ID was null. And since it is an inner join, and as I have explained earlier, inner join retrieves the record from both the tables where there is a match on the basis of a particular column. Here it is department ID. Now let's explore the left outer join, often simply called as left join since outer keyword is optional. This join retrieves all records from the first table, and if there is a matching record in the second table, it will display that as well. If not, it will show null for the missing data. To help visualize this concept, consider the following Venn diagram which illustrates what a left outer join reveals. Now let's do an example and see how left join works. What I'll do is, I'll copy this piece of code and save it here. Basically, we want the employee full name, job role and department name. We just want to change the method of join from inner join to left join. So when we are going to run this piece of code, this query will return all the data from the employee table, regardless of whether there are matching records in the right table, which is department, are there or not. If there are matches, those will be included. If not, null values will be shown for the department table columns, which is department name. Now let's run this piece of code and see how the data looks like. Now you can see here for Anthony, if you remember, we do not have any department ID, and that is why the department name is showing as null. And for all the other 15 employees, we have the department name. So basically, this is what the main functionality of left join is, that it is going to return all the records from the left table, which is employee here, and the right table, which is department. Since we do not have any record, it will going to show you the missing information. Otherwise, it is going to provide you all the information from the left table, which is employee here. Now that we have covered the left joins, let's move on the next type of the join, which is right join. The next join which we are going to discuss is right outer join. The right outer join, often referred to simply as right join, is another type of outer join. It works similar to the left join with one key difference. The tables are switched. In right join, all rows from the right table, the second table is specified in the join, which is department, are displayed, and if there is a matching record in the left table, it will be shown. If not, null values will be displayed for those columns. To help visualize this concept, here is a Venn diagram illustrating what a right outer join will reveal. It will reveal all the data from the right table, and if there is a matching record in the left table, which is employee in our case, then it will display all the columns from the left table. Otherwise, it will show as a null data. Let's do an example and see how does it work. Before we do an example, let me show you the table once again. dbo.department distinct department underscore id from dbo.employee. Let me run this piece of code. And here you can see there are 6 department IDs, but in our employee table we have only 5 department IDs and one is null. That there is one department ID is missing in the employee table, which is research. Now let me copy and paste the left join code and let me change left to right join. Now all the data which is in the department, this will be shown, and if there is not a matching record, it will show as null for that particular ID. So for example, in case of research, it should show us null from the employee table because we do not have any record for research. Let's run the code. And you can see here there is no employee name and job role for research. Otherwise, we have all the employee name, job roles and department name we have retrieved from the department as well as the employee table. So in the result, you will notice that they are similar to those from a left join. However, the department research is displayed even though it has no employees, showing null for the employee values. So that is right join. The final type of outer join is full outer join. This join retrieves all rows from both the tables. If a match is found, it displays the corresponding records. If not, it shows the null values for the missing data. Essentially, it combines the functionalities of both left and right joins, looking for matches in both the direction. Let's do an example. So here is an example of full outer join. Let me write the code from dbo.employee. You can mention as full outer join e dbo.department d on e.department id equal to d.department id distinct e.employee id e.full name e.job role d.department id d.department name. Now let's run the code and you can see the result. You will see a complete list of employees and department. So you can see there are 16 records. There are only 15 employees, but there is, you can see the record for research department is displayed having no employees, and that is why there are 16 records here. Whereas for Anthony, even though he has no assigned department, you have an output for Anthony also. So basically the full outer join takes the functionalities of both left and right join and stack both the tables together and look for on the, in this particular example, on the basis of the department ID, if there is a matching record, it will give you all the information. Otherwise, it will give you the missing data and stack them together. So that is what full outer join is all about. So by the end of this example, we have covered the commonly used joins in SQL. They are inner join, left join, right join, and full outer join. I hope this session helps you clarify your doubts on joins in SQL. So that's it for today, guys. See you in the next session. Have a great day.